Hello, we're the group 6 and this is our video presentation. In this video, we're going to perform different tests to identify and differentiate various organisms that we usually encounter in the laboratory. Since we are given an identified species of Staphylococcus, we are going to perform a coagulase test. Coagulase test is used to differentiate Staphylococcus aureus from Staphylococcus epidermidis and other coagulase-negative Staphylococcus. There are two tests under coagulase test, the slide and the tube method. To perform slide coagulase test, we need to get few colonies from the tube using our sterile inoculating loop, and then emulsify the colonies in a clean glass slide. After emulsifying, add a drop of rabbit's or human plasma and gently rub the slide. Clamping factor indicates a positive result for slide coagulase test. Therefore, it can be reported as a Staphylococcus aureus. Since we can see a formation of clamping factor in our test, we conclude that this is a Staphylococcus aureus. Negative result from slide coagulase test should be further tested with tube coagulase test. We perform tube coagulase test with 0.5 mm of diluted rabbit plasma. Take a few colonies from tube using sterile loop, then inoculate in the tube. After that, we need to incubate it for 4 hours at 35 to 37 degrees Celsius. After 4 hours, we need to examine the tube. If the tube has formed a stable cut or coagulum, therefore it is indicated as tube coagulase positive. If there is no coagulum, it should be further incubated for 18 hours and then examined again for clot formation. If there is still no coagulum after incubating it for additional 18 hours, then it can be reported as coagulase negative. Since there is a coagulum in our tube test, therefore it is a positive result. For catalase testing, we will test two different organisms, which are Staphylococcus and Streptococcus. Our Staphylococcus should result to catalase positive, while the Streptococcus should result to catalase negative. To begin our catalase test, we need to drop a hydrogen peroxide in our slide and then emulsify the colony afterwards. Since we can see here a bubble formation, we can conclude that this is a Staphylococcus aureus because it is a catalase positive. The same process goes with Streptococcus. As we can see, there is no bubble formation, meaning it is a catalase negative. Therefore, it is Streptococcus. To begin our MSA test and BAP test for our Staphylococcus and Streptococcus, we should first make a bacterial suspension for both Staphylococcus and Streptococcus. For our third test, we're going to have a bacitracin disc test for Streptococcus to differentiate group A from other B-hemolytic streptococci, and navabicin test for Staphylococcus. To begin the test in our BAP, we will use a bacterial suspension that we made. We will also make a line to separate the streak from Staphylococcus colonies and Streptococcus colonies. To begin our BAP test, we will use a cotton swab and dip it in our suspension of Staphylococcus. Remove the excess liquid by making a circular motion in the tube. After that, we will perform the streaking. After we finish streaking, since we use a cotton swab, we would now discard it and get another one for streaking of Streptococcus on the other half of the BAP and just repeat the process. After that, we will need to wait for another 15 seconds to let it dry and then add the antibiotics. After the addition of antibiotics on each side, we will incubate it and wait for result. After incubating it, you can see on the left side that there is a zone of inhibition in the Staphylococcus, indicating that it is sensitive to novobiocin. On the other hand, there is no zone of inhibition around the disc in the Streptococcus, therefore it is negative to the tubacitracin test. MSA is used as a selective and differential medium for the isolation and identification of Staphylococcus aureus from clinical and non-clinical specimens. MSA distinguishes bacteria based on the ability to ferment the sugar mannitol. Colonies that can ferment mannitol will appear yellow, while colonies that can't ferment mannitol will appear pinkish. Begin our MSA test for our Staphylococcus and Streptococcus. We will also use a bacterial suspension for both Staphylococcus and Streptococcus. To distinguish which organism is able to ferment mannitol, we will make a line in the middle to separate the Staphylococcus from Streptococcus, and then using a loop, dip it to the bacterial suspension of the Staphylococcus and then make a streak in MSA. On the other half of the MSA, we will also do it using the suspension for Streptococcus. We will just repeat the process. Incubate the MSA at 37 degrees Celsius for 24 hours. After incubating it, we can see here that our Staphylococcus grows in MSA and appears as color yellow. Therefore, we can conclude that Staphylococcus was able to ferment mannitol. On the other hand, Streptococcus also grows in MSA but appears as pinkish. Therefore, we can conclude that Streptococcus can't ferment mannitol.